Okay, so first of all, let's edit the URL because right now this URL will only be used for login and redirect the code. So let's make it to API, Instagram Graph API instead of Instagram Graph Post, and click on Save Changes. Now let's move on to our code area, and we need to use or include few objects. So these are the objects, and now let's write our code. Public function is graph API, and in that we have to write this. I already have shown you this Instagram Graph API PHP SDK library. So on going to here, move on to Y key, and for access tokens, we need to copy these things and we will paste it here. We will have to add our app ID and app secret in these fields. And what this will do is it will ask user for these permissions, and this redirect URI would be the same what we have written in our app. That means where is that? This URI. So copy to clipboard and paste it here. So this URI and this URI will always be same. Now since we don't need ads management permission, let's remove it and let's take all the other permissions. This will ask for the permissions when user click on the login with Facebook URL. But this URL will return on successful login. This URL will return a code key, and on the basis of that code, we will be doing our conditional things. So now let's move on to this portion in if condition, and there will be one else portion. So for if condition, we will take this inside else, and for if we have this key, then we will perform the token fetching thing. So let's take one variable. Okay, instead of writing all, let me copy this thing from here. So we need these things. What this will do is, if we are getting the key, then from that key we will, okay, just remove because it is duplicate. So what it will do is, we have included the access token and it will create the object of that, and we will fetch the token from code. And if that token is not long lived, then we will convert it to long lived token, because long lived token, as you can see, they last around 60 days, and short lived are like in 1 hour expiry. So if we have the access token now, then what we will do, we will simply do print it. Now these things have done, and now we have the permissions, and now we have our Facebook login, and that's it. So if we run this code, Instagram Graph API, but before that we need to include app ID and app secret. So from where we will get these two? We will get these from here. Let's move on to our settings, basic, and it's the app ID. and this is the app secret. Now since we have added these two things, we are good to go with this API running. Okay, so now let's refresh this and we can see login with Facebook, and if we click on this, yes, and you can see it is saying that RS will receive your name and profile picture. Click on continue, select the business, and this is our page, and this is our Instagram account that is connected to our Instagram page. You can see it here. So this is our page, and click on continue, and what permissions we have written are showing here. So click on save. Got it. Now you can see it has returned one access token. So let's take this access token and write it somewhere. So it's the old access token. Let's replace it. And for now, let's remove this user ID. So this access token will be used further. Now let's create one more function, and this function will be used to debug the access token. So debugging access token will give us the user ID. So let's write debug access token. And if we again move to the documentation of this, so let's copy this code for debugging, and after that we will have to paste that copied access token in this is it, and let's print it. Now when we run this, it will show us the user ID, which we will click on and save here. So let's move on to our browser. On our browser we have the access token one, and if we refresh this page, now here you can see it has returned our user ID. It says the app name and the access token expiry. So this is our user ID and we will be using this. Now we will be using this user ID to fetch the access token permissions to check whether all the permissions are granted or not. So let's move to our editor and create one new function, access token permissions. And now let's move on to this library and click on copy these things. In here we need to paste that access token which we have got. So that access token was this. Oh sorry, that user ID is this. So let's paste this user ID at our end and in our code, and let's paste this access token again, save it and print the permissions returned. Move on to our browser and refresh this page. Now if we see the permissions which we have asked for, it is showing all those permissions to the status as granted. So you can like use these permissions to check whether all the permissions are granted or not, and on the basis of that you will do the further things, like if you want the user to continue post, or on the basis of these permissions you want to ask the user to allow all these permissions by checking this granted flag. So now we have these things, and now let's move on to our editor again and write one more function. From that function we will get the user Facebook page ID. Let's go public function and Facebook page ID. And for this, let's move on to library and one step back. Here we have IG user, so we need get user pages, and we already have included these things, so no need to include this again. Just copy these things and paste on our function. For the access token, we have this token, so just paste it and print the $pages value. That's it. Now if we move on to our $pages and refresh this page, so you can see that we are getting. Okay, let's make it on other form. Let's refresh this page, and now we are getting these things. So if you click on data, you can see that my Facebook page is this, and this is the ID, and we don't have to do anything with these things, so we only need this ID, that is our Facebook page ID. Let's store it somewhere. Facebook page ID. Now we will use this Facebook page ID to further like getting Instagram pages ID through this.